Hi everyone, welcome back to Strange True Stories. My name is Jeff. Imagine you were in a foreign country and you want to leave it so badly, you hate it there. You miss your family, miss your friends, you want to return home, but lack of funds make purchasing a ticket impossible. Would you consider shipping yourself? This man did. He shipped himself. In 1965, a 19-year-old Welshman named Brian Robson did something so reckless it sounds like satire. He tried to ship himself home from Australia to Britain inside a wooden crate. If any of you are claustrophobic, you are going to hate this story. For a brief moment, his plan actually worked, until the airline flipped the crate upside down, and things quickly went from clever travel hack to near-death experience at 35,000 feet. Brian Robson was homesick and he was broke. He moved from Cardiff, Wales to Australia in 1964 through a government work program that encouraged young Britons to migrate there. The program paid for the trip, but there was a catch. If you wanted to leave early, you had to repay the cost of your flight, and that price was enormous. At nearly £800, it was close to a year's wages for him at the time. Robson hated Australia almost immediately. He complained about terrible food, miserable housing, low wages, constant homesickness. Oddly, no mention of the snakes and jellyfish and other critters trying to kill you that I'd be afraid of. Within months, Brian wanted to go home, but he had no money and no legal way out. During his first escape attempt, and why he needed a plan B, Robson first tried something less insane. He attempted to stow away on a ship leaving Australia. That plan failed spectacularly. He got seasick almost immediately, was discovered by authorities, and removed from the ship. That embarrassment led to a much riskier idea. He realized that if he couldn't afford a plane ticket, and a boat ride just wasn't going to work out for him, then he would do the next best thing. He would ship himself. You might wonder, what sort of simpleton comes up with a half-baked crackpot idea like this? And you wouldn't be wrong to claim that Brian thinks outside of the box, or actually inside of the box. But the point is, it wasn't his idea. He had heard of this feat being done earlier in the year. Robson had heard about another man named Reg Spier, an athlete who successfully mailed himself from London to Australia in 1964. Brian was thinking a lot about Reg, imagining all of his friends and co-workers that were proud of him and what he had accomplished, cheering for him, toasting for him in the pub.
He nailed the lid down tight, left London in the night. No ticket, not a dime, just a box and borrowed time. He's gone, he ain't coming back. Flew to Australia, no turning back. London couldn't hold him down. Craziest man to leave this town.
To help!
Cheers!
To help!
Reg!
Reg, of course, definitely wasn't checking in with customs. So England was unknowingly down one English citizen after Reg's leaving due, while Australia was on the receiving end of a non-citizen Brit entering their country.
Oh my, I totally forgot about that. I tried yoga once. Instructor said to clear my mind. Took about 3 seconds and I was done.
My doctor said I should try jogging. Crikey, I told him if I'm running, something's probably chasing me.
That's a good
You guys hear about the bloke arrived at the airport in a wood crate? Yeah, customs said they needed to see his passport and possibly his carpenter. Blimey. We ordered spare parts from London and they've sent the whole POM.
Brian thought about Reg a lot and how his friends probably had a good laugh with him. Brian thought, if Reg can do it, then I can do it too. So what was his crate like? It was unbelievably small. The crate was roughly the size of a mini fridge. Dimensions were about 36 by 30 by 38 inches. Just about 3 feet on its longest side. This was big enough for him to sit with his knees pressed against his chest. Inside that crate, he packed a pillow, a flashlight, a book of Beatles songs, a small bottle of water, another bottle for urine, and a hammer to break out later. A suitcase because he wanted to bring clothes along, I guess. I'd have left that out. Robson recruited 2 friends, Irish immigrants named John and Paul, to help him build the box and mail him. The shipment paperwork said that the crate contained a computer. The IBM System 360 mainframe was really the only computer available, and he used that idea, I guess because the crate was so large. Nobody knew better. The plan? Well, the plan was simple. Ship the crate from Melbourne to Sydney to London. Travel time about 36 hours. After landing in London, he would break out of the crate with a hammer and walk away. What could possibly go wrong? Well, almost everything. For a timeline of the journey, let's break it down and see how hard of a time he had. Hour 0, sealed inside the box. Robson climbed inside the crate. His friends nailed it shut from the outside. That moment was the last time he saw them, ever again. For the next 4 days, he'd be trapped inside darkness.
Hey, you watch where you go!
Hour 2, his flight from Melbourne to Sydney. The crate was loaded onto a small plane for a short flight. At first, Robson thought things were going well. Then the pain started. His knees were jammed against his chest, circulation in his legs began to slow, cramping set in quickly. At 6 hours in, there was a catastrophic mistake. When the plane landed in Sydney, workers unloaded the crate. They did something disastrous. They placed the crate upside down. The box was labeled "this side up, fragile," which cargo handlers promptly ignored.
Bollocks.
Robson suddenly found himself standing on his head inside the box, and that's how he stayed for the next 22 hours. Brian is now upside down, unable to move, blood rushing to his head. And that would do it for me. If I was that British lad, I'd be out of there. Not 5 more minutes.
Excuse me.
I can't even imagine how horrible that must have been. I'm getting claustrophobic just thinking about the hell he must have been in. So what happens when somebody's upside down that long? This is where things become really, really dangerous. When the body's inverted for long periods, blood pools in the head. Possible side effects could be severe pressure in the skull, pounding headaches, or blood vessels bursting in the eyes, swelling of the brain, loss of consciousness. Robson later described it as sitting on my neck and head. He experienced intense headaches, dizziness, disorientation, and fainting spells. Those fainting spells might not have been that bad, right? At least he got some better rest. Too bad he didn't have Ambien back then, right? That would have helped. At times he blacked out completely. Remaining upside down long enough could absolutely kill someone because the cardiovascular system cannot regulate pressure properly. Robson got incredibly lucky. Hour 24, 1 day in, and he's finally turned upright. After nearly a day upside down, the crate was finally moved and set upright. But Robson's ordeal was just beginning. The next problem, his flight to London was full. Instead of going to Britain, his crate was quietly loaded onto a Pan-American flight to Los Angeles. At least it wasn't Spirit, right? Things probably could have got a lot worse. He had no idea. Inside the box, he assumed he was headed home. Hours 24 to 90, the longest cargo flight of his life. The cargo hold of the plane was not designed for human passengers. Major problems included temperature. Cargo holds at the time were often unheated. Robson endured extreme cold. He said that it was freezing cold at altitude and unbearably hot when he was on the ground. What about oxygen? Cargo compartments had lower air pressure and less oxygen. He struggled to breathe and hallucinated. Circulation? He had been stuck in the same cramped position for days, his muscles locked up. By the end of the journey, he couldn't even straighten his legs. And it was dark. He spent nearly the entire trip in complete darkness, except for a small flashlight. Mentally, he wasn't doing so well. Robson said he was having hallucinations, night terrors, and confusion. He didn't know whether he was dreaming or awake. At one point, he genuinely believed he was dying. Hour 92, the arrival in the wrong country. After about 4 days, 92 hours, trapped in the crate, the cargo finally arrived. But not in London. He was in Los Angeles. Cargo workers noticed a strange light shining through a hole in the crate. One worker looked through the hole. Inside the box, a pair of eyes looked back at him. The worker reportedly jumped back, shouting, "There's a body in there." When the crate was open, Robson was in terrible condition. He was dehydrated, barely able to move, stiff from being folded in half for 4 days. He couldn't even stand up properly. He was rushed to the hospital, where recovery took several days. After questioning him, officials decided he was just an idiot with determination. No charges were filed. How did it end? Well, instead of punishing him, the airline actually did something remarkable. Pan Am put him on a first-class flight to London, free of charge. After 4 days folded in a box, he finally got a proper seat. Yeah, there's no way Spirit would have done that. Robson returned to London on May 18, 1965, greeted by reporters and cameras. His family was relieved he survived, but they were also furious, understandably. He eventually returned to Wales and lived a normal life. If the crate had continued its route from Los Angeles to London, which likely would have gone over the Arctic in an unheated cargo hold, experts believe he might have frozen to death. So in a bizarre twist of fate, getting lost in Los Angeles probably saved his life. Brian still talks about his journey to this day and how fortunate he was that his luck did not run out in Los Angeles.